I feel like I got so much exposure to so many different relationship types, and being able to see how people, communicated and structured their relationships, it definitely helped me feel more empowered to speak up for myself.
Mm-hmm. The Double Team twins are back. And last time we talked about wedding fantasies, orgies, and wild play parties. Fast forward, and now these two are in serious monogamous relationships. I know, right? We're diving into how that happened and what they've learned and the differences between the two. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back, ladies. Cami and Niki from Double Team Podcast. I'm excited to have you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
This is Camilla. We haven't seen you in so long. I'm excited.
Yeah. And the last time I had them on, we talked about gangbangs and orgies. And there was another topic, wedding fantasies. And so there's a lot that has changed.
Yeah. Everything's flipped over.
Yeah. So I'd love to get into that.
Sure.
Catch up. So yeah, tell us how it's switched.
So yeah, I'm in a monogamous relationship now.
As am I.
Yep.
Ooh.
And I mean, I don't think it came as like a huge shock to like our listener base or even like our friends and stuff because we had been talking for some time about like, even though we were still like in kind of non-monogamous containers or dating, whatever you want to call it, I was looking for a monogamous relationship. Like I did, a lot of, when was it? Back in, 2023, I was like seeing these three guys at the same time. And I just kind of got to a point where I was doing a lot of self-reflection and I broke up with like all three of them. And then I was like, you know what? I did a celibacy challenge. And it was during that time that I realized, I'm like, I think I need something that's like more monogamous, starts off more monogamous. And at the time, I will admit, like, I thought like, okay, like we'll start off monogamous. And then, as we get into it, maybe we'll see if like we're down for a play party or a threesome or something like that. And then when was it? Probably a year after I started that whole process, then I met my boyfriend. And I was very clear with him from the get-go. I was like, I want something monogamous. I've had a non-monogamous past, so maybe one day I might want a play party or a threesome, just letting you know. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And he was like, okay, I've only ever done monogamy. Maybe we could consider like a play party or something, but like, that'd be down the road. And now we've been together 6 months and I'm like, I'm good with just monogamy.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah.
But do you think it might change with time, just like poly changes and monogamy changes? What's your thoughts? I mean, just being open to whatever kind of feels good to both of you?
The thing for me, the thing that makes me wonder how, like, what my tolerance is going to look like for it is my bisexuality. Because I really, like, I am more than happy with, like, if we remain monogamous for the rest of our lives, I'm more than happy with that. But I know for myself that, like, sometimes I may go on to miss women.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe if it gets to a point where I like am really missing it and I want just like a one-off experience or something, we could have a conversation about it and maybe find like a container of rules for that. But that's really kind of the only instance where I think like that's where we would kind of go away from our current monogamous like boundaries. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm bisexual, so kissing, I've always been open. Even when I was in monogamous relationships, I felt like kissing wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it is for some men.
Yes.
But for your partner, is it a big deal to like make out with other women? How does he feel?
We actually had this conversation the other day, which is so funny because we went to a rave for New Year's Eve with a bunch of my friends. And all of us girls in the group were like jokingly like kissing each other and like touching tongues. None of us made out. It was just like a quick peck or like we'd like
Sounds
so mature. But anyways,
and this is not a non-monogamous group at all.
They're all very vanilla.
Except for one couple, everyone's vanilla.
Yeah. So, and I asked him the other day, I'm like, okay, like when in that situation, were you okay with that? I should have checked with him beforehand, but he didn't, and he was like, no, I was cool with all of it. He was like, I would have been upset if you had started like making out with any of them.
Okay.
And he was like, but I didn't think that was like gonna, happen. And if I did, I would have said something in the moment.
That's good.
He was like, but I could tell I was just kind of playful and, whatever. And I didn't care. And so I was like, okay. And I think that that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have no problems with it. But I've really loved being in this monogamous, or like I love being in this monogamous container. I love like our relationship. I am so glad that I got to a point where I like made the intentional choice to go back to monogamy because I really feel like it's right for me right now. And honestly, like especially when I look into the future, I feel like it will be the right thing for us just because of how well we operate in it. Like I said, the only caveat is my bisexuality. Because I don't want to speak for my future self. Maybe my future self will really miss it. But anyways, but it's been a good transition, I would say. I've said it before, that I actually think non-monogamy made me a better monogamist.
Oh, yeah. It helps you deal with jealousy. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Helps you deal with those feelings that you get in monogamy. So, yeah, we'll definitely cover that. And then what about for you? Like, what kind of made you switch? And I do want to say, I had podcasts with you last year, like a bunch of times. I could kind of tell. Like, also, I think you shared like more monogamish and like wanting more of a partner and like, anxious attachment styles. So I was like, I could kind of feel that.
Yeah.
And I'm all about monogamish. So yeah.
I think people forget that I've always been monogamous.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
You just explored sex parties.
All I did was I was in a non-monogamy community in which I was single and I explored sex parties and group play.
Yeah.
As a single woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and you know what? And it took me trying out a polyamorous relationship in which I was a secondary to realize I'm like, oh, this is not me.
Yeah.
And so, and I remember a lot of the times, like when I told people that well, and actually this was before I met my boyfriend, but I would be like, oh, I want a monogamous relationship. And some people would be like, oh, that's so surprising. And I'm like,
yeah,
but it's not. Because you might know me as a person that's in the non-monogamy community, but you haven't seen me operate in a relationship. Unfortunately for the non-monogamous community, and this is something that I learned, and this is something that I do value in myself. Like my libido is very, very monogamous.
Okay. Hey,
when I'm in love, I want that person and that person only. And that's a thing that, like with my boyfriend right now, I can have sex with him and him only for the rest of my life.
Love that.
Should we, continue in how we are now, where it's supportive, loving, good communication, we are a team, like that for me is always going to fulfill all the needs that I want. And then sexually, like that's all I'm just going to want because I know that's how my body operates. I think I have, because I've thought about it before, and for a while before, I want to say it was like for like the beginning of all of last year, I would say like, oh, I want a relationship that's monogamous, but like I can't give up sex parties. So I hope they're okay with sex parties.
Yeah.
And now I look back in that and I'm like, no, I don't want my boyfriend at a sex party. Like, you know, just because I feel for me to get to a point where I would be comfortable with us going together would need, just based on like, my anxious attachment, things like that. I would need I'm a person, and this is something that, like my therapist the other day, she's a somatic therapist. So like I'm on this like massage table basically with just like a blanket and a bunch of like stuffed animals. And, she's basically like she usually like places a hand on my kidney area and then like right here on my neck. And those are two like supportive areas for somatic therapy. Anyways, and at one point, like, she just looks at me and she like lightly pets my hair and she goes, "You're just someone that needs, a lot of safety and some validation, and that's okay."
Yeah.
And like for her to say that, just be like, hey, you know what? It's okay that you need these things, you know,
Mhm.
especially right now as like, you know, just healing from past shit. And, you know, it's just something that I've embraced. So I, you know, for me, it wasn't like a big shock of getting into a
Mhm.
monogamous relationship. I think it was just a realization that, like, okay, I tried everything. Like, when I'm single, you know, as a single person, like, sure, I was really able to like lean into that side and like really enjoy the space and like supporting the community.
Mhm.
But as a person in a relationship, that's just not how I operate.
Yeah, I totally get that. When I was trying to understand if I was like poly or wanting more of an open style or like monogamish, I was trying to explore and be in those different spaces and trying to almost make myself that I was wrong when I was getting
Mm-hmm.
jealous or not feeling good. And like, to be honest, my last relationship, it was like I should be better at this, you know?
Yeah.
I should want to, I don't know, feel more comfortable with sex with other people and yeah, safe.
Hmm.
And I did get to that point after healing a little bit and like growing those bonds and being closer friends, able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of let that down that wall. And it doesn't mean anything, but I can have intimacy and be friends, which was hard to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm much more monogamish, and I want my partner and I to be like, if we do go to a play party, it's us
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and we're experiencing things with other people together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like, oh, we go there and we're missing out on all these things and we like
Yeah.
just separate. And it's
Or you're like, peace, and then everyone takes off. Yeah, no.
yeah,
And that's a, you know, that's a thing, especially about like sex parties, is I've realized I'm like, you know what? If the last one I went to was like my last hoorah, like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I am
Mm,
glad I gave myself the chance to experience that when I
mhm.
did. If I never get to experience that again, and I had to tell my boyfriend this because I needed him to understand, because he listened to like a few snippets of the podcast, and you know, he had his own questions about like the non-monogamy
Yeah.
community. And he doesn't understand it, but he was like, you know, as like a single guy, like I was always curious about sex parties, but you know, I'm not someone who would ever want to like be in an open relationship or anything like that. And I
Mhm.
was like, I totally understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from, like 'cause that's exactly what I just found out after 4 years.
Yeah.
And where was I going with that? My train of thought derailed. Um, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
No, but basically it was just like, oh, this is, yeah. So basically, like, I was just telling him, like, if I never go to a sex party again, I will be more than okay.
Nice.
You know, like, it is okay. It's not, you know, where previously in my podcast, I was like, this is a requirement. I
Mhm.
later came to, you know, find out, I'm like, okay, no, it's not a requirement. It's just something that, like, as a single person, I really, really enjoyed,
Mhm.
but I operate differently.
I wanted to say on that point though, and I don't know if you'll agree with or disagree with me in this, but we have slightly different experiences, which is why I want to say. So my longest relationship was my previous marriage, which was in
Mhm.
total about 9, almost 10
Yeah.
years. And I think it was maybe like 4-ish years in that we decided to like open up. And I think, so like it's very easy early on in a relationship to be like, oh no, I don't want any of this because I want the safety and the
Mhm.
all the ness of a monogamous container. But like
Things
things change
change.
and people grow. And so like, maybe 3-4 years in, you're like, you know what, I feel comfortable enough to be like, we don't have to go play with other people,
Mhm.
but we could just go be in the environment.
Yeah.
And, I feel safe. You make me feel safe. We've got it on lock. We're feeling good about ourselves. Like maybe we can go to a play party just for fun one night and just to, watch other people fuck and then fuck each other in front of other people.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think remember to like give yourself the room that, like, if
Things
it
can
is
change.
something that you enjoyed, like maybe there's a situation down the road where you guys just decide to go have a night out, like once a year or whatever, where you go to Kinky Rabbit and just like see what's going on in the sex
Yeah.
world.
Libidos change, relationships
Yeah.
change, desires change. I can tell you this, like moving in changes your libido. Like
Yeah.
it's after the 18 months of the honeymoon stage
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that like, and also it's different when you're long distance versus when you're seeing each other every day
Oh, yeah.
or like all the time. And then when you move in and you see each other every day, you're in a more companion state and the libido changes. Even me living just in Costa Mesa, 45 minutes away, and I was there 4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So I was gone for 1 to 2 days. And then I would come back and I would have that spark again.
Yeah.
That like, oh, I missed you for a day. But then when we lived together, like it changed. Like
Oh, absolutely.
we had to like plan dates and get that libido going. And like
Yeah.
we were more in this like very supportive, loving partnership.
Yeah.
So I would say like things change, desires change. I mean, I used to never think I'd want, I don't know, double penetration or 2 guys or a threesome with 2 guys. Like, I don't know. Things change with time, age.
I
think that's also one thing that I'm allowing myself to like give room to.
Yeah.
Like and I was happy to reaffirm to my boyfriend, like, hey, I don't need play parties. Like if you tell me you never want to go to one, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I also understand I am having explored the way that I did during these years. I am more equipped to have those conversations should they come up in the future if things, evolve and change and I get to a place where like, yeah, I mean, I understand. I could in 4 years be like, fuck it, let's go to a sex party or let's have a threesome or, whatever. Like I feel like I'd be more prepared for that having, the experience that I do from my past.
Same.
And yeah, I don't know how things will progress. I was, the longest relationship that I've had was 4 years. And that was with my ex-fiance. We moved in together after knowing each other for 3 months. He would deploy for half the year.
Wow.
So and it was typically like deploy for 3 months, come home for a month or two, deploy for 3 months, come home for the rest of the year. Rinse, repeat the next year.
How did you deal with that? I could not do that.
Well,
I need a lot of attention.
And that's the thing is like, it was, I learned through that relationship, I think I really learned just how much I do value loyalty. Obviously, because we were both really young. I was 24, he was 23. We were apart from each other. Obviously, like 3, 4, 5 months without sex, like that's not fun for everyone, but I was so happy to be like, his partner in this and support him through the deployments and, be at home, take care of our house, take care of our pets. But I think, and that's one thing about like, long distance kind of like sucks. That relationship taught me like, I hate long distance. I love companionship. I love having someone, to live with someone and, have them in my space, be in theirs, have a life together, grow, etc. But I was telling my partner this. I was like, and I think he and I will do just fine at, being able to do this. But like opportunities to miss each other, I think are really important.
Yeah, it's so good. Even,
absolutely.
I'm going through a transition right now, but even just a day, a night apart is still helpful because we're still like there for each other and we just need that like just a little bit of time or like go to a party separate and it does help so much.
Yeah, I mean, with Nikki and I, like living together, being business partners, having a podcast together, twins, and then taking care of all of our pets together, like I feel like every single day was just the same. And
it's a marriage. It's
you're married.
We got so tired of each other, and it's because we were always, always together, always doing the same shit, not a moment apart. And then it's like, she went to Italy for a month. And then she came back and I was like, I finally missed her.
I was like, I miss you.
A month later.
Yeah.
I fucking needed
You're
that.
like, first week, I'm good.
No,
Second
honestly,
week,
I didn't miss her until like the last week.
You're like, okay, it's been a long
I'm
time.
not gonna lie. But I needed that. And I feel like
it's good.
But she and I have been traveling a ton. You know, I'm in San Diego a lot. She's in Italy a lot. And then our own trips, blah, blah, blah. We actually had the opportunity to be apart more. And it has allowed our relationship to strengthen. Now, of course, I don't need, however my boyfriend and I progress and like moving in together and stuff, it's not like I need us to be apart for months at a time. Like, no, I don't want that.
Months is hard. I don't think I could do that.
No, but I know he has like his boys' trips and I'll have my girls' trips and,
That's good.
whatever. All those things are important. And it just, And thinking about all of this just really makes you think like relationships are just so weird.
They are so weird. I
Everything
totally get
about
that.
them, it's like,
So fucking weird.
it takes a long time to, you know, or it takes a special kind of bond to like, realize you're in this good or bad, everything, and then mix in life with it. Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
But I think also like, that's why I say like non-monogamy really helped me be better like in relationships 100% because like no one gives us the tools about relationships.
Nobody does. Nobody talks about it.
No one tells us.
Nobody tells us how to deal with
Yeah.
jealousy and being threatened and lack
The
of
only
libido.
message we get is go marry. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't get anything beyond that.
Or
So
communication about finances. Like that is
Yeah.
lacking still.
yeah, exactly. No, we don't. So, it's so funny because like when we're raised, like all we ever hear is like, yes, you eventually want to get into a relationship and get married and have kids and that's it.
Yeah.
No one tells you like you're going to need to learn how to communicate. You're going to need to learn how to forgive, how to hold yourself accountable, how to, make sure you have like healthy arguments and, you can
You're gonna
see
need
both
to
sides.
learn that love is a choice.
Yeah,
some-
every
some
day.
days.
Every
For your
day.
companion or
Yeah.
even like how to have that better libido and have
Yeah.
more sex with your partner when you get comfortable.
I mean, like for, I got married at 21.
Yeah.
And, here I am at 31 now. And I, like, with my partner now, I hope that is the route we take and all of that. But I'm just like, I feel like I'm being given, like, a second chance because, like, when I look at the first, go at it, not that it was bad by any means. Like, I think we did the best that we could.
Mhm.
But I look back at that and I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? I knew nothing. I knew nothing. And
Oh,
now
yeah.
I feel like I have so much more, like, wisdom and knowledge and experience and all of that. And it is still hard
Yeah, it's
because
hard.
like you're adults now and you both have your own kind of ways and lives and all of things and blah 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 and you still want to grow together and you still want to help each other heal and everything but like it's just even with all these tools that I have and that I'm so thankful to have like it can still be a lot of work, a choice, all of those things.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've noticed that you've struggled with going back into monogamy and dealing with them and like maybe even name some of the toolkits or what
Yeah.
you've learned on how to deal with it?
I mean, I was gonna say jealousy because it's so funny, and I've said this before, but like when I was, non-monogamous, like I watched partners of mine like fuck other people, go
Yeah.
down on other girls, like do all kinds of things, and I was cool with it. It took some time to get to that point,
Yeah.
and I had my things that I used to work through jealousy back then, and like the ways that I got to that point. But then once I got into this relationship with my partner now, like I find myself getting jealous over things that like you know, a past version of me wouldn't have even
Yeah.
blinked twice,
Yeah.
So it's so interesting, and I think a guest of ours had explained to me that like it's because like the containers you're in are so different that like the more kind of strict rules or strict boundaries of monogamy almost make it feel as if like you have more to uphold, so like jealousy can get triggered a
Yeah.
little bit more easily. So I think that's one of them, and
Do
I
you
think
have any experiences? Like what comes to mind when you think of that?
um
That you're like, oh my gosh, why did I get jealous about this?
stupidest one ever was like I was FaceTiming my boyfriend and um like he was driving like on his way to work and I guess like there was like a car like stopped next to him or whatever and there was like some girl inside her and
Mhm.
and like he was in his uniform and he looked so good in his uniform and I just remember I think she like honked at him and he was like someone just honked at me and he looks over and he was like oh and I was like what and he was like this girl's like waving at me and I was so fucking jealous. I was like bitch what are you doing looking at my man? And I was just like
You're like, whoa.
like, come on now. It was so stupid.
Yeah.
And there have been like other instances here and there, but it's funny to me. But then, I realized that I'm like, okay, whatever I did during my non-monogamous phase is not working during my monogamous phase. So I got to go back to the drawing
Yeah.
board and figure out some new tools, which I've been working through. And I
Mhm.
mean, I think I mentioned it in an episode that we did recently that one of the ones that's been working for me is that like, okay, like if I, you're just reminding myself, affirming like, yes, other people I'm sure will find me attractive, will find him attractive, whatever. Like, but we have our commitments and to each other, and I trust that. But then
Mhm.
also, like, for example, like, if I'm worried that he's going to see some like hot girl, then like, okay, I trust him not to act on it. It's
Yeah.
not like he's never going to think someone else is attractive ever
Yes.
again. Same way that when I see a hot guy, I'm just like, okay, cool. I
He's a
leave it
hot
alone. Yeah,
guy. Hot
whatever.
piece of ass. That's it.
Yeah, it walks by and then I forget about it.
Yeah.
So it's been nice like reviewing those things.
Mhm.
But it has been also surprising because like there have been moments where I look at myself and I'm like, girl, you used
Whoa.
to watch like your dude go down on other girls.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what is going on?
It's wild.
What
What about
about you?
you?
Yeah.
What's kind of been very different or tools to deal with it? Just kind of.
I think for me, what I've realized now that I'm older and more aware is how do I put this? I realize that the confidence I have as a single person and the confidence I have in a relationship look very different. One is a
Yeah?
lot higher than the other.
Okay, which one? Which one's
Um,
higher?
my confidence as a single person
Is higher.
because you know, I don't know, maybe because then like
You don't have attachments to someone, so your anxious isn't going to come out.
no, exactly. And that's the thing is like
Mm.
I'm only taking care of myself at that point and there's no room. I'm not going to hurt myself. I have before. In the sense of that of
Oh.
making stupid
Oh,
decisions.
okay.
Not
Not
physically,
physically. But anyways, so and yeah, and I've just become more aware and I compare like my last long-term relationship and how I felt then. I feel like I was a lot more naive.
Mm.
And, now as I've matured and I've gotten to know myself more, I really feel like I'm finally, and my boyfriend specifically, I also feel like one of the goals here is that he is teaching me how to like raise my own self worth in relationships, which I feel
Mm.
is really important.
That's
So,
good.
like I feel like that's my main work right now. It's just because I do tend to like let my insecurities sometimes like take ship and run my mind and then that projects onto
Yeah.
my relationship and my emotional state.
Mm.
And so being able to not only self-soothe but like communicate to my partner when insecurity is happening, blah blah blah. And then it's not like I mean jealousy in some ways has come up, but like not very big ways, like
Like, how is it
um
different? Like, jealousy in non-monogamy versus jealousy in a monogamous relationship. Have you noticed any difference?
Well, because I remember when I was in a when I was in the poly relationship, like I was like jealous of the fact that like there it was like more of just like knowing I could be replaced by someone else, or
Mm.
I wasn't the only one
Mhm.
that they were seeing.
Yeah.
And but in a monogamous relationship, it's like I trust him to uphold our relationship and our commitments to each other and everything like that. And so, when jealousy comes up for me, it's been like, okay, sometimes, he's really into his conversations with his friends and like,
Mhm.
he's like texting them a bunch and I'm like, hey, I want attention too. But like,
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
attention's coming.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's silly things like that.
That's
I would say.
A-okay. I mean, I get it. I get it
Yeah.
for sure.
But I mean, sometimes I get jealous thinking about like past relationships, but that's also
Oh
just
my god, retroactive.
no, it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also like why am I focusing on this? It's the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
That's nothing's gonna change that. I'm not judging
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
He and I have both have had sex with other people before we met each other. I'm well aware of that
Mhm.
fact. And so it's having, that type of mentality. Yeah, it's just it's different, but I feel like the same in a sense. I don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah. Makes sense. And yeah, I think E&M being in the non-monogamy space definitely teaches us a lot about jealousy and how to deal with it. And for me, it's like, what is this bringing up? What need is not being met?
Mhm.
And that's what has helped me the most is like asking myself, ooh, oh, it's safety and security. Okay, well, how do I get that safety and security? And like figuring that out and going inward and then like sharing that has been super helpful.
I I think one thing that I really, really loved and enjoyed about, being not only having a podcast about non-monogamy and like seeing my sister and how she, operated her relationships and then having being in the community and then
Mhm.
seeing how other people operated in their relationships. I feel like I got so much exposure to so many different relationship types and being able to see how people, communicated and structured their relationships, it definitely helped me feel more empowered to speak up for myself
Mhm.
in relationships. And that's one thing that I will always be thankful for is that, the past, 3 to 4 years in this community has taught me, also just like the different types of love. Like I have a lot
Yeah.
of platonic love, but also like platonic intimacy with
Mhm.
people. Um, that when I go now that I'm in my monogamous relationship, like I don't know, it makes it feel all the more special. But yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely like helped empower my communication. And also, I mean, it did boost my confidence even
Yeah.
more as a single person because I feel like I got a lot of love from a lot of people, and a lot of kind, secure, like caring containers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Raise the bar, raise the communication,
yeah,
raise your
absolutely.
confidence. I love that. And then bring it into non-monogamy.
Well,
I
it's
love
just
that.
seeing like, seeing the way your friends like, in a couple or whatever love each other and like come together and operate in this space. Like, yeah, seeing that is very powerful too.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, do you, both of you,
Mhm.
have any fantasies that you still think about and maybe from past experiences you still fantasize about? And like, do you ever want to revisit that? How do you deal with that? Is it maybe just a visual?
I'm very grateful that in my years of like sex party exploration, I got to try a lot.
Yeah.
Like there were so many fantasies that I was hoping to fulfill that I got a chance to fulfill. Like I got to do DP, I got to do a lot of threesomes. I think there was one night where it had to have been like 7 threesomes. It was the most ridiculous number.
Wow,
And so
yes. How fun. We might have to okay, we're gonna cover some threesomes too. I'm curious. Okay.
and so I am at a place now, where I feel like I got to everything that I really wanted to try, I got to try.
Mhm.
And I feel like I got to also kind of like exhaust those fantasies a little bit.
Yeah.
So for example, I because we went to sex parties all the time. I feel like Cami and I were like the queens of sex parties for a
Mhm.
little while there because we were going to all of them. And they were so fun and we got to see so many things. But like I said, I feel like I really got to like exhaust a lot of my fantasies. So now I feel like I'm at a place where like I don't look at them as fantasies anymore. Like I
Mm.
look at them as like it was something that I really got to like try out and enjoy and experience for quite some time, and now like they're not there as much, or I don't really think about them. And definitely like nothing from the past comes in that I'm like, oh, I wish like that was like still in my life or anything like that. Like the exploration that I do with my partner now, I love.
Mhm.
I always wanted someone that was as down to try things,
Awesome.
yeah, as much as
Yes.
I
Down
am.
to try things.
And he is definitely that way, and I just freaking love our sex life. I
Okay.
could
What
not
how
be
do you guys
happier.
keep it fun and spicy and explore new
Well,
things?
I mean, the thing for us is we are long distance, and
Yeah.
and
That
so
keeps it fun anyways.
we see each other every other month.
Okay.
So then it's like when we see each other, it is like bunny rabbits, just
Yeah. Fun.
constantly at it. And it's great and I love it. And then obviously when we're apart, we do a really good job of like keeping like the spice going, like even when we're apart. We'll wank together over FaceTime, or we have like these little things that we'll do, like, okay, 5 days before we see each other, like no wanking, to like really
Okay. Cool.
build up
I like
the
that.
anticipation or whatever. And I
Do
think
you
that
ever use the toys that you can both play with, like with the remote?
we haven't, but we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 I actually just got one and it like has a remote control and it's men and women. And there's a
Is it like
cock
Wi-Fi
ring.
based or what?
Yeah, cock ring and the other one. And then also, yeah, there's a few companies that you can both have one and then use the remote
Mm-hmm.
and it's just your phone. And I haven't tried that, but it sounds fun.
No, I'd be down to. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bring it up to him. I'll see if he's down to as well. I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that like I feel like I got to really try out all my fantasies. So like there's nothing left like unturned or uncovered. I don't even know what the term would be in
Stone
that sense.
unturned.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I am bisexual, so like I haven't been with a woman obviously since we've been dating, and even before that, it had been maybe a little bit of time since I had. So,
Is that a past experience you might fantasize about?
maybe I would say maybe that's the one that comes up, but usually it's not typically like related to anyone specifically, like past female partners that I've had. It's really just
the
kind of
female
like
energy.
yeah, it's just kind of like the generalness. And the thing is I really don't know, if or when I may be ready for a threesome with him. Like, the answer right now is definitely not.
Yeah,
I
you guys
don't.
are still
Yeah,
fresh.
exactly. So I'm like, I don't know if that could change in the future. Whatever. But maybe that would be the one that like comes up occasionally, not related to anyone specific, but just like in general. Like, sometimes I'm.
Yeah.
Oops.
Is he open to threesomes? I'd like to ask both of you this, but like, have you guys talked about it? Have they had threesomes and are they wanting to explore? I've watched people be like, oh, well, you've had those in the past. Why not with me? So like, is that something that he desires?
Luckily, he's never said that from like that perspective. Like, oh, if why can't you do that with me? When I first started dating him, I told him, I was like, look, I like women. So there could be a container where I want to have a threesome. And he was like, that's okay. We can discuss it when we get to that point and we can go from there. And then when I realized that that wasn't something I wanted on the table anymore, I told him, I was like, I don't think that's on the table for me right now. Maybe I'll come back on the table. I don't know. But right now it's off the table. And he told me, he was like, look, I didn't go into this with like thinking like, oh, we have to have threesomes at some point. He was like, I'm in this for you and for our relationship. So he was like, if you get to the point where you want to, cool, we can talk about it then. But if not, like, I'm more than okay with that as well. Okay. So that was his stance on it, which I appreciated.
And has he had threesomes in the past?
I think he said he had like where, they like messed around with another girl, but no.
Not really.
Like, no like penetration.
Old thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. What about you? Have you fantasized about any past experiences and how do you share that with your partner?
Thank you for repeating the question. I need that. Okay, no, I have not fantasized about the past at all. I love the sex life that we have. He told me from the get-go, there are certain things that like that I like that don't do it for him. However, he's more than happy to do it for me.
Okay.
So like for me to get off on it. However,
wait. What was that there? Like, what is it?
No, like specifically what it is.
Or an example.
Yeah,
if you're willing to share. I'm
well,
curious.
no, sometimes, like
I was like, you're going over the juice.
Yeah. Sometimes like I do enjoy power dynamics from time to time in which like we'll do that like verbally sometimes, like, like I'll call him daddy or whatever. Anyways, but it like we'll just like dabble in it.
Yeah.
But he knows that I do like it a little bit. I do like it sometimes in bed. So like he's like, okay, well that doesn't really do anything for me. However, like I'm happy to do that for you. Like in which like, he has a great side of that I do enjoy. And we dabbled in it a little bit, but not much, which is totally fine by me. Cause I feel like kind of like what Nikki said, I feel like I got to explore a lot of different things, when I was single and previously, and that fulfilled a lot of my exploration, whatever. So going into this relationship, I just love that he and I have like a really good sex life. We have a lot of fun together. We have a lot of like passion and fire and like, he's also like made me feel more comfortable with like, for example, like masturbating in front of him or something
That's
like
good.
that. Like
that's awesome.
I always struggled with that in the past, but now, and we use toys, which is really fun. I have way too many of those.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of great things on the now threesomes and things like that. he has had a threesome before that fucker. Just kidding.
Yeah, like did
He's
you
had
like
them
it?
too. And I'm like,
Has he had a few? Like,
But-
what's his experience kind of like?
he said he's had one before.
Mhm.
And then I remember, we talked about threesomes before, and he was like, I would be comfortable having one in the sense that, like, he can compartmentalize, like,
Yeah.
just sex from like the emotions. He was like, however, I would also just want to make sure that, like, emotionally you're okay, which, like, I don't think we're at that place anytime soon. So it's like, it's off the table.
Threesome should be mutual. Everybody, both people should be excited to do it.
1,000%. Yeah.
And see, and that's the thing, like, for me, like, I know, knowing my emotional self and things like that is just, it would take me a long time to, like, work up to that. And I don't
Yeah.
know what that timeline looks like.
It's very different when you're in more of that deep emotional bonded connection. I will say, like, when I was in a relationship with my ex that I didn't get a lot of that stability and safety, it was easier for me to have sex, threesomes and him hooking up with women in front of me. It was like easier to let go.
Yeah.
But this last relationship with Mo, like, it was harder.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because
it's deeper.
he gets a little bit jealous too, is because, like, as we're transitioning, like, I've had a threesome without him and it's so easy. I'm like the threesome queen. Like, it's easy. I attract threesomes and I love them.
Yeah.
But it is harder with my partner, which is sad.
Yeah.
Like, it is a little sad that I do get jealous, like, in
Yeah.
a different way. Like,
But it also
It's true.
just,
it's hard. It's harder. I just want to, like, validate you. Like,
but it
it's a
goes to
different
show
level.
like your depth of feeling for him, because it's like you do get that, like, protectiveness and that need to, like, because there's always going to be that fear of lost, or that fear of losing control,
Yeah.
which I feel like for a lot of people, especially in open relationships, it's like you have to do a lot of work around that, because it's like,
You really
you
have
know,
to let go.
but then at the
Mhm.
same time, like, you also have to realize that, like, everybody is their own person. Someone's going to choose you and be with you until they're not. It's
Mhm.
like, it's also learning those life lessons. But it is hard.
It
Like,
is. It's difficult.
I
The
feel,
depth, you can, like, feel them more. I don't know. You let me know. But, like,
No, I
I
agree.
feel
Yeah.
we're more in tune with our emotions and we're more connected. So, like, he's worried about my connection. I'm worried about his connection. We're, like, analyzing and, like, connected more, and we
Mhm.
feel each other more
Yeah.
in
I
that
feel like-
depth. So it is a little bit more difficult when you reach that.
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's how I feel like with my
Yeah.
boyfriend. We read each other well, and there's, like, a lot of depth there,
Yeah.
and it's your own energetic intimacy.
Mhm.
So
And then you're like, oh, wait, you're sharing this. What does, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
at the end of the day, oh, sorry, my last comment here. At the end of the day, I am just, and I think this is what, like, I've truly been looking for this whole time is, my boyfriend and I are monogamous. However, I feel safe having these conversations with him.
Good. Yes.
And that, for me, like, that's
Mhm.
really all I need. Is I need him to, be open-minded. And that's really it. Like,
Yeah.
because then that means that I feel like I can have, bring something up to him and we can discuss, or he can bring something up to me and we can discuss. And that's,
And sometimes they're fantasies, not desires. Like,
Exactly.
you can have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fantasy
Yeah.
about, like, I haven't had double penetration in a long fucking time. I just don't think it's been the right fit.
Mhm.
But, like, I sometimes fantasize about it. Doesn't mean I, like, want to have it. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, like, sometimes I'll go there in my mind. Or if you like something in your mouth while you're getting fucked, you could put something in your mouth.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
that's
true.
kind of like a way to play with your fantasies. But yeah, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say that I really loved how, you had kind of talked about, that, like, you're the threesome queen, but, like, in a relationship it's hard, because I relate to that so hard.
Yeah.
In my non-monogamous exploration, I was, a very proud unicorn.
Yeah.
But it is so easy when it's a casual connection. Like,
Mhm.
the way that I could go into a threesome when there's not an emotional attachment to either of those people involved was very easy for me.
Mhm.
And I loved, like, being the third that goes into a relationship, like I took a lot of care and pride in that because I know how hard it can be for a couple to do that. So I
Yeah.
wanted everyone to feel safe. I really
Mhm.
prioritized, everyone. And like I was there to have fun, but I was also there to make sure everyone like felt good about it too. Cause like from a couple standpoint, that's hard. And so now being where I am, I'm just like, the thought of a threesome terrifies me. And I'm like, I used to have them literally,
Yeah.
there was a time where I had more threesomes than I had one-on-one sex.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny the way that, we can grow and evolve, but also, or the way that we can react in different environments and
Mhm.
different conditions, because like, it's kind of like what Cami was saying about being single versus like being in a relationship.
Mhm.
I was also kind of the same way because some of my non-monogamous exploration was also when I was like single,
Mhm.
or like not exactly in like committed relationships. They were just like more casual relationships. And yeah, my confidence, how I, reacted, how I held space, all these things look so different than where I am now. And so it's just sometimes it's a little mind-boggling. It's like you have like all these like different versions of you inside of you, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's like, well, how do I take like the good pieces from
Yeah.
like the confident single gal and like bring that into like the relationship me who's nurturing and who's very like
Mhm.
safe and protective and all those things. Like, how do I combine
It is.
the better pieces of all of them into one?
It is hard. I mean, I've even noticed my confidence with different partners.
Yes.
Like my
Yes.
ex versus I guess my soon to be ex is like the confidence level of myself, of my body, of my sex. Like it's just
Yeah.
like, how do I get back to that other feeling? And it
Mhm.
comes internal, but there is a part that it's like a need, wants, desires of validation or security. And like you have to like, okay, what do I need? How do I get that? What's a I have to let go if I don't get this. Like,
Mhm.
oh wait, this is a need that's like, I need this.
Yeah.
I can't get it just from inside. I don't know.
I
That's what
remember
I've realized.
No, I agree.
back on the subject of like threesomes. I
Yeah.
remembered one time my boyfriend and I were talking about them, and I was like, if we ever have a threesome, I would prefer it to be with one of my past like female partners
Yeah.
because I trust them. I know they're
Mhm.
not, lying bitches that will try to take you away from
Yeah.
me. Like it was
Yeah.
just, this is like a friend that I trust and that I know that
Mhm.
we would have a good time with. And he was like, I'm opposite. He
Okay.
was like, I'd prefer it to be with a complete stranger. And I'm like,
You're like,
I see his side of
Yeah.
I see his side of it, but at the same time, I'm like,
That's so.
Yeah.
but I don't know her.
I've heard that
like,
from men though, especially. But also
It's
they just
true.
need to understand maybe more.
Okay, it's funny that you say that because I've also heard other men. I remember it was one of my best friends, she was saying that like her and her husband one time were joking about it, and he was like, the only way it could happen is if it was with some random person that we're never gonna see again in a random city, da 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 da. He was like, I never want to see that person again. And I was just like, and she was like, I don't want to fuck a
Yeah.
random person. She was
It
like, that's
sounds
my
like-
worst nightmare.
Yeah, it sounds like you need to mitigate those fears. Like talk about those fears and how to like provide security with them.
But
my
it's
opinion.
funny that like men want a stranger and women want someone they feel safe with. And I
Yeah.
think it's because men think if it's a stranger, it's expendable and then fuck their feelings.
Yeah.
We'll never talk
Mm.
again. But a woman is like, no. I want someone to make me feel safe and someone
Yeah.
that I know will continuously make me feel safe after the
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. I'm like, if I ever, were to broach that subject, like I know exactly who I would go to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I trust that person
Mhm.
or those two people. And I know that like it would be fun and we would have a good time and all of that. But I can trust that, after that experience is over, everything's going to be good and all
Yeah.
of that. So
It is helpful in non-monogamy when people are in relationships and playing with others because you have a lot less fear, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like
expectation.
and like
Yeah.
you just kind of like, oh, like we can deepen our connection because you are partnered and you're never leaving
Mm-hmm.
and we can still have maybe a deeper bond. That's what's helped me.
But as long as you understand that, and
Yeah.
as long as like how to, where your limits are and things like that, because then you also have the people that like haven't done the work and they just become attached to someone when not, when you can't, and I feel like that can cause issues too. So it
Yeah.
takes like the right people, but I feel like at least like in our community, like we have the right people for that, like
Yeah.
in the sense that like you don't see others who were like trying to sabotage other connections or things like that.
And everyone's always, and that's,
But
I
I've
think,
heard of instances where it's
Where
like,
they did get jealous, where they were
yeah, or
like
things like
worried.
that, where it's like, but like I agree with you in the sense that like, when I was a single person, um, being with other people that were like already partnered and in committed relationships, it just made it so much easier.
Mhm.
Like there was a level of safety there, knowing like, okay, this is the limit, and this is where it's going to go, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's a
You can cap
ceiling,
it.
cap it. I'm not gonna get hurt. Like
Yeah.
it's a casualness in a sense,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I was gonna say, but that the community, that like we have had the pleasure of being in for the last 4 years, and that we have found, or that we found, through I mean, who brought me in.
Yeah.
And I met them on Tinder. Anyways, like I am so grateful because I feel like I saw so many shining examples of non-monogamous relationships and people who have truly defined for themselves what they want in their relationship and have made it successful for years. And I think what I love about that is like, I may not be non-monogamous anymore, but like I still champion it, and I still think it's a very viable, option for a relationship, because I have seen so many wonderful examples of people that have made it work.
absolutely.
And like it gives me inspiration knowing that, like, and kind of like what you said earlier, empowerment. Like I saw so many great examples that like it empowered me to believe, like, you know what, I can make my relationship exactly what I want it to be, and so
Yeah. Looked.
Mhm.
Well, in this community, I'm also going into new territory, so maybe I can ask you guys for some tips.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that I've heard is that there's not a lot of people in the community that have broken up and then stayed friends and both stayed in the community. And I'm just like,
Oh, that's hard, yeah.
Yeah, there's like, we know of one that's doing it right now.
Can you say their names and bleep it out?
Yeah, I'll bleep it out. So this is about the end. Joss and Hannah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Bao and Dave are now trying to. And then now me and Mo are going to. So I'm going to bleep this out.
Yeah.
But
But-
I think with the first couple, I think they've actually done a great
Yeah,
job.
they've
at
done,
it.
honestly, I'm so glad there's some people that are doing it few steps ahead of me. And like, I've talked to one of the couples, and like, actually now the guy in one and then both in the other, and it gotten some tips and like what to be aware of. And like that rule that we came up with sounds very helpful.
Wait,
to
what
me.
rule?
So one of the rules that we're doing to transition, and we want to be friends. That's, I think, the biggest part of us breaking up and having a very, like, we've had a really good transition. We've actually known for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been fully together and we're not broken up until we're separated. And I think the biggest reason why we've been good is because we both want to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
The commitment to being friends in the future is a big thing. We both share a lot of love still. And so we're like enjoying the time while we're transitioning, which has been really hard. But one of the rules that I'll tell you guys after she told me was, it's really hard to see your friends fuck your ex-boyfriend when, even though they've been fucking all this time in front of you, then when you're broken
see that.
up, it's
100%.
fucking different.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
as soon as like this month has been really hard, like going to play parties with
Yeah.
him, because I see it and it's different. It's like,
Yeah.
oh wait, he's not mine anymore. Like we're transitioning, like that jealousy is fucking different. Like,
I think you're gonna have to give that time.
yeah.
Well,
So
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I think you need to. You said that you both had people on each side that are
Yeah.
off limits, and I think that's great, and that's
Yes.
a great rule to start. But I think another one should be either you don't attend the same play parties for the next 3 to 6 months,
And maybe y'all
Or
alternate.
like we
Yeah,
alternate, or
alternate.
in different rooms when they're big enough. Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Or
Yeah.
kind of like the way Cami and I did
Yeah.
it, where it was like
Just kind of avoid.
minimum of 50 people and enough rooms to where we can avoid seeing each other.
yeah, I think that's a good rule.
And then Marco Polo it.
Marco,
so you
yeah,
don't run
I'm like,
into him.
so
you know?
many people would be like, Cami's in that room,
Okay.
don't go in there. And I'd be like, I'm
So
not.
let the community know,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
like just
and
give me
they'll
a heads
help
up.
you. Everyone was
Okay.
always so helpful with us.
I was going to say,
Okay,
in 3
yeah.
years of going to play parties, I think maybe one time I saw the back of your head and that was it. And I immediately
yeah.
left the room. So it's very doable. But I think, when a relationship ends, you need space to
Mhm.
kind of let a lot of that dissipate.
Mhm.
And so, like, I mean, sure, I guess it can be great exposure therapy if they're right in your face fucking someone else, but I don't think it is.
I don't think I'm ready for
So
that.
I think y'all need to alternate play parties maybe for like the first month or two. And then after that, like avoid being in the same room with each other for at least another 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can figure out how you're feeling.
I will say, because like I don't think you know him, but I have an ex who lives next to someone in the community. And they've become friends, and then, they hang out more, right? And and after many failed attempts, I mean, in the past, it's not so much relevant anymore. Like in the past where it was just like, he and I would run into each other and it was always very uncomfortable, and he's not very good at respecting my boundaries and things like that, or, having adult conversations.
That makes it hard.
It made it difficult for me to be in the same gatherings as him. So I just told community
Your
members,
friends.
I was just like, look, if he's going to be there, I won't, things like that. And sometimes you just have to make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
If it's just better for your peace of mind, at least you're in a, transition where it's like obviously a lot more amicable. And it's, and like we were saying, like alternate, but also just like realize that there might be like a chunk of time in which you're just not going to be okay with it. And even past that, in the future, like there might still be some pain points, but time.
Yeah, time will tell.
Time will tell.
Also with that rule, so we both chose 2 people that like, ooh, we don't know about. And then I was thinking like 2 months, 3 months. And then I talked to B, and she was like, whatever you're thinking, add 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was so happy, and I felt like I was asking for too much. And I was like, oh,
no,
2 months
2 to 3 months is nothing.
Yeah. And so now it's 6 months.
That's 8
it's like
weeks.
4 to 6 months minimum. So we're going to check back, which is nice, because I was like, well, I don't want to say something and then we're stuck to that because that's what she did and she's not feeling good. And so I was like, okay, like 4 months minimum. And then we can always check back and see, and we can extend it or not, which felt very safe.
Sound advice from B.
I would agree.
Very sound.
I mean, you're going to need some space. And so make sure that you give yourself that. Even if you both have good intentions, you both want to be friends, you want to make it work, all of that, yes, you're still going to need space.
Yeah, because we're going from living with each other, hanging out, working from home. Also, we do the kinky comedy show together. Yeah. So, and like Valentine's Day weekend, where it's going to be the first 14 days of us apart, and we have 2 to 3 things together that weekend on Valentine's Day. So I think we're going to be more amicable and friends. Luckily, the play party that we're going to attend, Cami and Chi's like retreat or after party, like it's big enough that we can be in different rooms and different spaces. And I think I'm going to do the Marco Polo type of thing. And we're just kind of taper off in February, I think, because we've just been so supportive. I feel like we both might just cutting it off completely is just like, I know,
but at some point you need.
Yeah, I was going to say, at some point you do have to.
You gotta,
like completely, 30 days, no contact. Like
I would say no orgies, nothing with less than 10 people. No, any of that, because it's just going to feel too intimate and too close. Even like dinners with like the group, if it's just like 10 of y'all and he's going to be there too, like even that would probably be tough.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a fun journey. I guess I'll take my audience on the ride. And this is the first time I'm talking about it really, but I'm going to probably like talk about it more, but
well, I mean, I still want you to come on our show and talk about that, because I would love to hear more about it. And
then everybody can
have a lot of questions. So
okay, total side quest, but before we end, I think you two are great people to do this with. So
for a second I thought she was like gonna hook me up with someone.
Oh no. My boyfriend and I do 3-month check-ins in which we each bring 5 or 6 questions to the table.
Oh, okay.
And this time, and we ask each other and we answer our own questions and they answer. Yeah. Anyways, so last time I had a set of 5, 6 questions. This time I'm building new ones. So I wanted to ask y'all what are some questions that come up that you would think are relevant for a 6-month check-in?
6 months? I mean, I personally think I'm going to just be a little devil's advocate. It should be monthly.
Yeah, I like that.
But
well, I mean, we do check-ins every 3 months.
Okay.
So like we did our first check-in about 3 months ago. And then we did for like New Year's, we came up like a we came up with a list of goals
Okay.
as couple
Ooh,
goals.
love that.
And then next, Valentine's Day weekend is Valentine's Day, and then a few days later is our 6-month anniversary.
Ooh, fun.
So, but yeah, what are some questions?
One of them is, what is one area that you want work on? Like one area, one thing that you would like to work on, because if you add too many, it's overwhelmed, they feel not supported. But start that with the compliment sandwich. Like, share what's one thing that's going really, really well first. Like, what are you loving? What are you appreciating? What do you want more of because it's so awesome? And then, one area that you want to improve. Ask about where your sex life is at, what you're liking, what you're disliking, what you might want to share or explore, fantasies. Those are fun.
What do you like?
This question is one I'm taking into my check-in.
Yes.
And so, and when I came up with it, I really liked it. Though I'll wait, Cami, until you're done. Are you typing it or what?
Yeah, sorry, hold on. This whole format got fucked up.
Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you.
And I can also reshare.
Okay, what was it?
Mine was going to be, is there anything that you're doing for me that you feel I'm not perceiving or recognizing?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because I feel like so many times in relationships...
Hold on, that I'm not perceiving or recognizing. Okay.
Kind of like, what do you need appreciation on?
But I think it's also one of those instances where, like, when people are... Okay. People are showing love, but like that's not how someone typically receives it, so they don't register it as love.
Perception
or they don't
is
register.
huge.
Yeah, so like it's a mismatch in perceptions and reception. So I always like to ask that, because it's like I'm over here thinking I'm showing all this love, and my partner's like, didn't even notice. Sorry, but like that's just
exactly.
But that's just not how I operate. And my partner actually did that with me once. He was like, we were having a discussion about something. He brought something up, and he was like, but I've done, like, this is what I did in response to that. And I was like, oh, I didn't even register that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, thank you.
Yeah,
and then
honestly, that's so important, because me and Mo have that talk a lot. Is like, I feel like I'm giving. I'm giving so much. And I'm like, me too. And then we're like, but what are we giving? What did we do? Sometimes sharing what you did to get to that giving. Like, oh, I did this, this, and this. Does show a little bit of the work and like how you got there and like why it's meaningful.
And sometimes your partner needs to see that work.
Yeah.
It's like a math test. Sometimes they need to see
show your work, bitch.
Yeah. And then one last one is like, how would you like to receive appreciation?
Yeah. Oh, I like that too. Because they could be showing appreciation like, you know what? She did the dishes, so I'm going to go do the laundry. And you're like, this motherfucker did the laundry finally. And you had no idea that it was in response to like...
Bro, the other day, and I'll say this very quick because I know we're running out of time. The other day, I realized, because I had asked my partner, I was like, what do you think about during sex? Because we had that discussion on another podcast episode.
Yeah.
And, he was like, well, usually this, and this. And then he's like, and then sometimes, like, I'm hoping that you're not getting like insecure, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, okay, well, most of the time when I'm like staring into your eyes, I feel like I'm just hoping you're feeling as connected as I am. And then he goes, I think we have a different way of perceiving connection.
Oh.
And that brought a conversation he kind of explained to me the way he receives connection and how he likes to, show it. He's like, I really like when we talk about these things or blah, blah, blah. And being able to know how he perceives it has helped me so much.
Wait, I want to hear one of them. Like,
and I was like, well, no, he
connection?
was just saying, he's like, I think you perceive connection in the sense that like you want the physical touch and quality time and like, the in-depth convos. He was like, for me, like, I love the safety and the comfort of our connection. And I feel the most connected to you whenever, we have like maybe some of the tougher conversations. He's like, but I grew up in a household where like my parents constantly showered me with love.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I grew up in a household where like my parents were constantly absent. So it makes sense that the way that like he doesn't need us to stare into each other's eyes.
Yeah.
He just feels connected because of who we are and how we come together. Where like I have to feel the connection by like quality time.
Yeah.
So
mine's quality time too.
Yeah.
Like that that uninterrupted,
Yeah. But
not getting on your phone a lot,
Yep.
having that one-on-one
But it's
time.
different because of the ways that we were raised and how we perceive it. So he perceives it just for me being me and us being together. And then I perceive it as like, I need him to give me time. And that's how I know. So
Yeah. Here we go. I love that. Okay. Well, is there anything else to share before we end? Go check them out on Instagram and their podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thanks for having us. This is
Podcast.
great.
Yeah,
I loved it.
know. Great talks.
And
I love
let's
it.
please schedule for you to come on our show.
Yes.
'Cause, I mean, our guests or our listeners love you. I know that. And
Yeah.
then I would really love to dive deeper with you on the transition you're going through.
It'll be next week. So you guys go listen to it. And yeah, there will be some good questions, and there's a lot of transitions and things I've never dealt with before. So yeah, it'll be good.
you got
Well,
this.
thank
But
you.
yeah, thank you. At Double Team Podcast, at Cami and Niki on socials. And yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.